Hi, TUMNAD lectures. In this video, we are looking on what we call the ECG interval and ECG segment. If you find this video helpful at the end of it, please make sure to like the video, comment down in the comment section, and please subscribe. Let's go ahead and get started. So now, in this video, we're going to be mainly focusing on what we call the ECG interval and what we call ECG segment. This one here is illustrating what we call the normal parts of the normal ECG, which represents one cardiac cycle. Cardiac cycle, these are the series of events that happen within one heartbeat. They can be illustrated using the ECG machine by giving us these waves. Now, when we talk of these waves, let us first now identify how we call all these waves. This one here is going to be what we call a P wave. This one here is going to be what we call a Q wave. This one is going to be R wave, and this one is going to be an S wave, and then this one here is going to be our T wave. Okay, we looked at these the waves in the previous video and what they denote. Now, when we talk of a segment, we said that is going to be denoting an isoelectric line. When we see the end of what we call the P wave to the beginning of the QRS complex, we still have this of the segment. You know how this segment is called? This segment here is what we call the PR segment. Okay, it's what we call the PR segment. Now, the question is, what does the PR segment represent? This PR segment, what it represents is that, the P wave is going to be representing what we call atrial depolarization. Whenever the action potential depolarizes the entire the atrium, they have now to come and converge on what we call the AV node. And we said that the AV node can delay these action potentials for approximately 0.1 second. Now, it is during this time the ECG machine is going to be giving us an isoelectric line. And this isoelectric line is what we call the PR segment, denoting that there is a delay of action potential by what we call the atrioventricular node. Okay, so now this PR segment is going to be representing atrioventricular impulse delay. Okay, AV node impulse, AV node impulse delay. Okay, that's what the PR segment represents. Then when we come over here, we also have this another the segment. This segment is going to be starting from the end of the QRS complex up to the beginning of what we call the T wave. Now, this the segment here is what we call the ST segment. Okay, this one here is what we call the ST segment. Now, the question is, what does ST segment represent? Now, this ST segment represents that this is the time period during which the entire ventricular myocardium is fully depolarized, but it has not yet repolarized. Okay, and that's what this the ST segment represents. Okay, it represents what we call entire ventricular myocardial depolarization. Okay, depolarization, but not yet depolarized. Okay, the entire ventricular myocardium is fully depolarized, but repolarization has not yet begun. That is what we call the ST segment. In case ST segment is prolonged, this one can signify what we call myocardial infarction. Okay, it is such another beautiful segment. So now those are the common of the segments that I want you to pay much attention to. Then when we say what you call interval, an interval is going to be containing parts of the segment and even also what we call the waves. Now, when you see this the interval is going to be beginning from the start of the P wave up to the beginning of the QRS complex, and this the interval is what we call the PR interval. Okay, is what we call the PR interval. It is going to be denoting from the beginning of atrial depolarization to the beginning of what we call ventricular depolarization. That's what the PR interval represents, from the beginning of atrial depolarization to the beginning of ventricular depolarization. It is such another beautiful thing. And this one, on average, is going to be taking approximately around 0.12 to approximately 0.2 seconds. Okay, that's the time period we expect this the interval to take. Then we also have this this interval here. You know how this interval is called? This interval is going to be from the beginning of the QRS complex up to the end of what we call the T wave. This the interval is what we call the QT interval. okay, is what we call the QT interval. Now, this QT interval is going to be starting from the time there is going to be ventricular myocardial depolarization up to what we call ventricular repolarization. Okay, and this is the time of the interval which is going to be taking much of the time in what we call in the cardiac cycle. And this one is going to be taking approximately 0.35 up to around 0.444 seconds. It's going to be taking a lot of the time. From the time the ventricular myocardium starts to become depolarized until the ventricular myocardium gets repolarized. It is such another beautiful to know. Okay, so now these are the some of the common ECG intervals and what you call the common ECG segments. So now all these kind of the intervals and segments, they are going to be occurring within a specified period of time. If it takes beyond the specified period of time, we say that kind of the segment is prolonged. And if it takes less time than its stipulated time, we say that that kind of the segment is going to be taking short time. All that one can signify that there's going to be a problem with what we call the heart. Okay. So now that briefly covers interval and what we call segment on the ECG. If you think whatever I've talked is making sense, is really adding to you, you are benefiting, please, you can hit like button, comment down in the comment section, and please subscribe. As always, TUMNAD, until we meet next time.